This week's special Halloween episode, The Curse of Bloody Mary. You know the game. Stand in front of a mirror, say her name 3 times, and she appears. A ghost, a demon, a woman covered in blood. But what if I told you she was real? Not a ghost story, not an urban legend, a queen. Queen Mary I of England. And her life was so cursed, so filled with tragedy and horror, that 500 years later, we're still too terrified to say her name 3 times. Today we're diving into the real story behind the legend. A woman who lost everything, her mother, her throne, her children who never existed, and finally, her soul. This is the story of a curse that destroyed a queen, ended a dynasty, and turned a ruler into the most terrifying figure in folklore. And trust me, the truth is so much darker than the legend. Our story begins in 1516, when a baby girl is born at the Palace of Placentia in Greenwich. Her name? Mary Tudor. Her father? King Henry VIII. Her future? Cursed from the very beginning. See, Mary's birth was already a disappointment. Henry wanted a son, an heir, a prince. Instead, he got a daughter. Strike one in the tragedy that would become Mary's life. But baby Mary didn't know that yet. For the first few years, she was a princess, beloved, spoiled, taught by the best tutors in Europe. She could speak Latin, French, Spanish. She played the virginals, danced, and studied theology. She was being groomed to be a queen. But then, everything fell apart. When Mary was just 11 years old, her father became obsessed with Anne Boleyn. You know the story. Henry wanted to divorce Mary's mother, Catherine of Aragon, but the Pope said no. So what did Henry do? He broke from the Catholic Church, created the Church of England, divorced Catherine anyway, and married Anne Boleyn. But here's where the curse really begins. Henry didn't just divorce Catherine. He declared Mary, his own daughter, illegitimate, a bastard, not a princess, not an heir, nothing. Imagine being 17 years old and your father, the king, tells the entire world you don't matter, that you were never legitimate, that your mother's marriage was a lie. Mary was stripped of her title, forced to serve as a lady-in-waiting to her baby half-sister Elizabeth, the daughter of Anne Boleyn, the woman who destroyed her family. And her mother? Catherine was exiled. Mary wasn't allowed to see her. When Catherine died in 1536, Mary wasn't even allowed to attend the funeral. The curse had taken her mother, but it wasn't done yet. Fast forward to 1553. Mary is now 37 years old. She's survived her father's reign, survived her half-brother Edward VI's reign, and now Edward is dying. He's 15 years old, wasting away from tuberculosis, and on his deathbed, Edward, manipulated by Protestant nobles, tries to cut Mary out of the succession. He names Lady Jane Grey, a distant cousin, as his heir instead. Why? Because Mary is Catholic, and England is now Protestant. But Mary is done being pushed aside. When Edward dies, Lady Jane Grey is proclaimed queen. She rules for only 9 days. Her reign was short because Mary raises an army. She marches on London, and the people, the common people who remember her mother, who sympathise with her suffering, rally to her side. Lady Jane Grey is overthrown, arrested, and Mary becomes the first Queen Regnant of England. She's finally on the throne, finally in power, finally able to restore her mother's honour, restore the Catholic faith, and undo all the damage her father caused. But the curse isn't finished. With power came something darker, something that would turn Mary from a tragic princess into Bloody Mary. Mary believed, truly, deeply believed that England's break from Catholicism was a sin, a wound in the soul of the nation, and she believed it was her divine mission to heal it. So she began what history calls the Marian persecutions. Over the next 5 years, Mary had approximately 280 religious dissenters burned at the stake. Let that sink in. 280 people. Protestants who refused to renounce their faith, men, women, even bishops, tied to stakes, surrounded by wood, set on fire, burned alive. The screams, the smell of burning flesh, the smoke that darkened the skies over London. This wasn't warfare, this wasn't battle, this was execution, public, brutal and terrifying. People called them Marian martyrs, and they called her Bloody Mary. But here's the thing, Mary didn't see herself as a monster. She believed she was saving souls, that burning heretics would purify England, that God would reward her faithfulness. Instead, the curse deepened, because while Mary was burning her subjects, her personal life was falling apart in the most tragic, most haunting way possible. In 1554, Mary married Philip II of Spain. She was 38, he was 27, and Mary was desperately, painfully in love. But Philip married her for political alliance. He didn't love her, everyone knew it. Still, Mary had hope, because there was only one thing that could secure her legacy, prove God's favour, and ensure Catholic rule in England continued. A child. In 1555, Mary announced she was pregnant. Her belly swelled. She felt the baby move. She experienced nausea, cravings, all the symptoms. Doctors confirmed it. The court prepared for a royal birth. Months passed. Mary went into confinement, the private chambers where queens gave birth. She waited and waited and waited. No baby came. Mary's belly eventually deflated. There was no child. There had never been a child. Modern historians believe Mary experienced a pseudocyesis, a phantom pregnancy, a psychological condition where a woman's desperate desire for a child manifests physical symptoms. Her body believed she was pregnant, but she wasn't. Can you imagine the humiliation, the confusion, the grief of losing a child that never existed? But the curse wasn't done, because 2 years later, in 1557, it happened again. Mary announced a second pregnancy. Again, her body showed symptoms. Again, the court prepared. Again, she went into confinement. Again, nothing. No baby. No heir. No future. And Philip, her husband, the man she loved, was disgusted. He left England. He barely visited. He was cold, distant and cruel. Mary was alone, childless. Her body had betrayed her twice, and the people whispered that it was God's punishment, that the curse of her bloody reign had taken even her unborn children. By 1558, Mary was dying. She was only 42 years old, but her body was failing. She suffered from terrible abdominal pain, fevers, weakness. She couldn't eat and couldn't sleep. Modern doctors believe she likely had ovarian cancer, or possibly uterine cancer. The same symptoms that mimicked pregnancy were actually tumours. Death was growing inside her. On November 17, 1558, Mary died. Alone and childless. Betrayed by her husband. Hated by her people. And her final words? A confession that she saw little children, like angels, playing before her. The children she never had, the phantoms that haunted her even in death. But the curse didn't end with her death, because the moment Mary died, her half-sister Elizabeth, the daughter of Anne Boleyn, the woman Mary despised, became queen. And Elizabeth? Elizabeth restored Protestantism, undid everything Mary fought for, made England Protestant once more. Mary's entire reign, her life's work, her suffering, all of it erased. The Catholic line ended with her. The curse had taken everything. So how does a tragic queen become a bathroom demon? After her death, Protestant England demonized Mary. They published books like Fox's Book of Martyrs, detailing every burning, every execution. They made her a monster and a murderer, a symbol of Catholic terror. And over centuries, Bloody Mary became folklore, a ghost story, and a game kids play at sleepovers. But here's the thing. People who visit Hamptoncourtpalace, where Mary lived, report seeing her ghost, a woman in Tudor dress weeping, wandering the halls, searching for the children she never had. At the Tower of London, where Mary imprisoned Elizabeth, strange things happen. Cold spots and whispers. Shadows that look like a woman in 16th century clothing. Some say the curse isn't over, that Mary's spirit still lingers, trapped between life and death, unable to rest because her legacy was stolen, her children never born, and her faith was destroyed. And maybe, just maybe, when you say Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror, you're not summoning a demon. You're summoning a queen, a woman whose life was so cursed, so tragic, that her pain echoes across 5 centuries. So, was Mary cursed? Or was she just a woman crushed by circumstance, illness, and the brutal politics of Tudor England? Maybe both. What do you think? Was Bloody Mary a victim of a supernatural curse? Or did her own choices create her tragic legacy? Let me know in the comments. And hey, maybe don't say her name 3 times tonight, just in case. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe for more dark history, and I'll see you in the next video.